Hello friends, let us begin with the job costing approach. What is job costing approach? First, we need to identify what is the cost object or what are the cost objects, right? After identifying the cost object, you need to identify the direct cost for that cost object, right? Then we have to select the cost allocation basis to use in the indirect cost to the cost object, right? This is the third step. Fourth step, to identify the indirect cost which are associated with each cost allocation base, correct? Fifth step, we have to compute the rate per unit of each cost allocation base to allocate the indirect cost to the cost object. So the next step is to compute the indirect cost allocated to cost object, and the final step is to determine the cost of cost objects by adding direct and indirect cost. So these are the 7 steps. We'll take an example and then understand the job costing approach more effectively. Let us say, for example, if you are in the company of producing sugar from the sugarcane, right? Now we have to identify the cost object. Here your cost object is the sugar. Now what are the direct cost for that cost object? Direct cost is nothing but is the sugarcane which you want from the farmers. Now you will conquer this raw material of sugarcane from the farmers. So this is the direct cost of purchasing the raw material, that is sugarcane. You will require the labor who will be squeezing that sugarcane. So this is nothing but the direct cost. Now we have to select an allocation base to use the indirect cost to the cost object. Now for example, if you have choose the allocation base of promoting this sugar, that is indirect cost. Indirect cost is, say for example, when you want to sell that, you will be requiring the marketing person or the salesman, where actually the allocation base of sugar you have selected. Now the indirect cost you have to calculate on that cost object. Indirect cost is nothing but the salesman's salary or the advertising thing you will be calculating on the sugarcane, that is your cost allocation base. Now identifying that, you need to associate each cost with that sugarcane. Say for example, you have associated advertising cost with that specific product, that is sugarcane, out of so many costs, right? Company doesn't do advertising only of sugar. Say company might be having 10 different products, but now you are dealing only with the one cost object. So you will have to allocate your indirect cost specifically for the sugar by finding out how much cost of advertising did sugarcane take. So that is nothing but the cost allocation base of indirect cost. Now you will have to calculate the rate per unit of cost allocation. For example, how much 1 kg of sugar required the indirect cost, that is per unit cost you have to calculate. You can also compute the indirect cost which are allocated to the cost objects. Means indirect cost, total of indirect cost also you can calculate. How much total indirect cost did our cost object, that is sugar, took in building that, and after that you can determine the cost object by adding direct and indirect cost. Means total calculation can be done of costing by adding direct costing as well as indirect costing. So by addition of these you can calculate what the job costing approach took as far as the job costing approach is concerned. So specifically when job costing is done, here when you have to do specific specific customer demand job costing is done, right? So hope you understood what is job costing approach. Next we'll see in the next slide what is job costing overview in the upcoming slide. Thank you.